أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We say Ramadan Kareem to the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, finding itself in the most blessed month, of the year, the best time of the year, the best days and the best nights. We ask Allah to grant us the best of it. Welcome to our dear listeners of Salam Media and Voice of the Cape, both on the radios and on the Facebook Live, to this special broadcast on this Tuesday night, 27th of April, on this special United Ulama Council of South Africa program under the theme of Ibadan Lana, the international campaign to safeguard Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. Tonight we cross live to Al-Quds and to Palestine with two very special guests. We start off by greeting and introducing our guests. We say to our brother Mouad Khateb, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ahlan akhi Arshad.
Yeah, marhaban Ustad Mouad. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah. It's great to be here with you tonight on this very important topic.
Jazakumullah khair, shukran for joining us. And we also greet right at the start Ustad Abeer Zayyad from Al-Quds, an archaeologist who has also visited South Africa before. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair. All our listeners are very excited to listen to this program. Today, 27th of April, marks Freedom Day in South Africa, commemorated today. Akhi Mu'adh, having visited South Africa before, studied here in fact, what is your thoughts on South Africa, the lessons and inspiration that you can draw from the South African experience and the responsibility of South Africans towards Palestine?
Thank you, Brother Arshad. Freedom is, simply put, a word that Palestinians dream about every single night, especially Palestinians who currently suffer the repercussions of the occupation in West Bank and in Gaza. This we can't start without reminding ourselves of Nelson Mandela's very famous quote, whereby he said that the freedom of South Africans is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians or of Palestine. We have been longing for this freedom for decades now, and we have been suffering really the consequences of the occupation in all aspects of our lives. What we can learn or expect from the experience of our South African brothers is that pressure can create an effect. It can bring about a change. Let's not forget that one of the main reasons that contributed to the end of the apartheid in South Africa, and the Israeli apartheid is no different at all, was the international pressure that was practiced on the apartheid regime. Let's not also forget that Israel was one of the probably only supporters of the same apartheid regime back then. So we hope that since South Africans have learned the importance of such pressure that can be practiced internationally against all regimes that practice the same discrimination and oppression like apartheid in Israel. Having learned that, we hope that they would take part in contributing to such pressure, to pressure their government, their ministries, the Foreign Affairs Department, I'm not sure technically how exactly, but I'm sure there is something that can be done if peoples of the world mobilize and just decide to support the struggle of the Palestinians. I am sure that will have a major effect, since Israel, like every other country, does care about its international image and its interests before its image. So if pressure of other people is created that would pose a threat to the interests of Israel, then I'm sure things will begin to change.
Jazakumullah khair. Definitely, I agree with you that South Africans have a big role to play and their voice is respected in the international community in terms of calling for freedom and justice. And we remind South Africans tonight that it was the famous words of Nelson Mandela himself that said, "Our freedom in South Africa is incomplete without the freedom of Palestine or the Palestinians. Sister Abeer, most of us have seen some of these scenes playing out in the last 2 weeks in Ramadan in Al-Quds and in Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak. For somebody who is in the dark, that hasn't followed it very closely, can you tell us step by step what's happened over the last 2 weeks in Ramadan in Al-Quds, and also what happened, how it culminated with what happened last week and Thursday and last week and Saturday?
Okay. First, what is happening in Jerusalem? It's part from the problem itself, which is the apartheid and the occupation. So each time they are putting more rules, more apartheid things against the people inside Jerusalem and inside Palestine. So with the starting of Ramadan, and you know that the last year it was Corona and all the places was closed. So this year the Corona in Jerusalem was controlled. So it will be able for the people to go to the mosque to pray and to go to the old city. What Israel had done since the first day of Ramadan of putting a border and putting specific places to just to walk from it and not allowed for the people to be at the main gate of Jerusalem, which is Damascus Gate, and also to be able to enter to Al-Aqsa Mosque freely. This put more pressure on the youth. So mainly the youth, they start to protest, and Israel police immediately start to beat them, to arrest them, using all kind of violence against these youth. And they start arresting them. And if you go to the court, you can see. I spent the last 2 days inside the court because part of my family was arrested also. So I was there. So if you go to the court, you will see how many family are waiting for their children. Most of the people who was arrested between 14 to 18 years old, these are the most of them. If you look to any face of any one of them, you will see how much they beat him. And till now, this moment that we are speaking together, maybe you can hear some voices of the gas bomb and the sound bombs that they are throwing on the people at Damascus Gate and in other area inside Jerusalem. So with all the pressure that was happening at Damascus Gate against the youth, immediately this was started in other neighborhood in Jerusalem, like Sheikh Jarrah, Silwan, Tur. So all these, Al-Asawiya, all these areas start also trying to protest, and Israel police also attacking them. So if you look to the whole video, you will see how they was using the rubber bullets, the gas bomb, the all the violence that they can use it. Even with the horses, they was going on top of the people. They use a chemical water, which is very from healthy sides is very bad. They also use it against these youth. So with all what they done, it was not able to stop the protesting from the people at Damascus Gate and at other places in Jerusalem. So what the people just in the last 2 days, Israel say that they will take off these shen that they put it to for the ways, and they take it out from Damascus Gate and they return it back again. They take it out, and each time the youth try to celebrate that they win, Israel police try to attack them again. Now, just while we was speaking, there was a celebration between from the youth and some dabke, the folklore dance at Damascus Gate is also part of the protesting. And in this a few moments after that, the police attacked and arrested part of them. So it's mainly about who are controlling, and with all these things is happening. Also, there was a group of Zionists which they called Lahava. Lahava is a group like Kach, which is how to say it? It's a
Extremist.
group of races, extreme races, against the Palestinian and against the Muslims, and they start to putting videos that they will kill the Arabs and that they will clean the way of the old city from the Arab, and they bring their groups with weapons and with try to attack the youth and the people at Damascus Gate and in other areas in Jerusalem, and they injured a lot of people and they stab a lot of people also, especially the worker who are working in some of area like Jaffa Street in Jerusalem. Also, they send one of their group to Al-Aqsa Mosque with weapons, and the police was able to arrest him before he entered to Al-Aqsa Mosque. He dressed like Muslims and tried to enter inside the mosque. And when he was arrested, he said that he was mainly going to attack the children inside the mosque because they are easier to be attacked. Yesterday, also, they tried to kidnap a child, 12 years old, from Al Asawiya village. So it's the police themselves, the extreme Zionists,
ألم.
all of them together, with all the pressure, with all the apartheid system that we are living in Jerusalem, it caused what is happening now at Damascus Gate and in Jerusalem.
Shukran, Sister Abeer. We ask Allah Ta'ala for a soon or a quick release for your family members and all those youth that are so young that has been arrested only because they want to pray in Masjid al-Aqsa in the most holy month. Akhi Mu'adh, the occupation, this Israeli occupation commits crimes against the Palestinians every day. So why does it seem to boil over most or sometimes so much in Ramadan?
Well, because Ramadan witnesses the gathering of a huge number of worshippers, Muslim worshippers who come to Al-Aqsa Mosque to perform Salat al-Taraweeh and prayers in general. And given that the whole struggle between Palestinians and Israelis is about control, about sovereignty, about who controls what, especially regarding Al-Aqsa Mosque, then they try to establish a new reality. Each time they attempt new things that aimed at basically reaffirming their sovereignty on Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, this brings me to, I think there's a need to establish the context for our dear viewers, because maybe not everyone is aware of what the situation is all about. So in Jerusalem, there's the old city of Jerusalem, where inside which the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound is situated. And then there's Jerusalem as a city. There has been attempts all the time since the Nakba, since 1948, in which the Israeli authorities try to seize and basically annex and occupy new areas and new places within Al-Aqsa Mosque, but also in the city of Jerusalem as a whole. I'll give you three examples. First, they began with by digging underneath tunnels underneath Al-Aqsa Mosque, and then Sheikh Ra'id Salah, who is currently being imprisoned in Israeli jails, exposed these tunnels. And then I remember the days, it was like 20 years ago, where thousands of Palestinians used to go inside those tunnels and work manually until we managed to reopen the so-called Sulaimani mosque, which is under beneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And that prevented the Israelis from seizing that area, which no one knew about before. So another example is the electronic. Yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify some things, because it's very important to be clear with these things. The place first is called El Marwani.
El Marwani, indeed.
Not the Sulaimani, the first. Second, that no, we was knowing about him. I was entered the place when I was a child. We have a special gate for entering it, but it was closed by Salah ad-Din because the Crusader had used it as a staple, and he was worried that after his time that someone will use it again as a stable, so he closed it. So when we as a Palestinian in the 90s decide to open it, that does not mean that we was not knowing about it before.
No,
No,
no, I
we
meant
open it because Israel is the extreme Jew. It tried to open the gate from the south side to open it to enter inside. The tunnels, they start to dig it, in fact, from the beginning of 1967. And
Ustad
they
Abeer.
start to make, yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind, our program today is only until 10 p.m. So
Yes.
we definitely appreciate.
Sorry, just I want to clarify. It's
No,
very
جزاكم
important
الله
when
خير.
we speak about the move.
جزاك الله خير, جزاك الله خير, and shukran for those clarifications. Definitely, it is very important. And at the same time, like Mouad was saying, we appreciate the role of the Islamic movement and Sheikh Ra'id Salah and all those
Yes, of
volunteers
course.
and all those Muslims, all the years having done such a sterling job to bring the awareness of the importance of Masjid al-Aqsa into the minds and the hearts of the Muslims in Palestine and outside of Palestine. It reached us here in Cape Town. And at the same time, we will say that we make dua that Allah Ta'ala hasten the release of Sheikh Ra'id Salah, who is at this moment in solitary confinement in one of the jails in the occupation state. We ask Allah to hasten his release and the thousands of political prisoners. We move over to Ustad Abeer again. The Jerusalem street.
Just if you allow me, Brother Arshad, I would like to complete the idea I was saying. Thanks for clarifying that. I meant to say that almost no one knew about this Al-Marwani mosque beneath Al-Aqsa Mosque. Maybe you knew because you live inside the old city of Jerusalem, but most people didn't know because it was not being used, because it was closed basically. Maybe there was a small gate, but it wasn't open to the public. So when the Islamic movement exposed that there were diggings going on underneath Al-Aqsa Mosque, then they sort of took the initiative to start organizing and arranging and basically clearing out those tunnels and preparing them and actually converting them into places of worship where Muslims now perform prayers. And this, of course, prevented seizing and annexing those areas and other areas that the Jewish extremist groups were trying to seize. The last example is those metal barricades that have been installed recently since the beginning of Ramadan. And those examples show that the authorities' policy in Jerusalem is to test waters. They do things that aimed at to test or to assess the reaction of the Muslim and Palestinian public in Jerusalem, and to see, to decide afterwards what the next step would be. So if there was a strong reaction, then they would step back because they realize that, that's a mistake. We shouldn't do it. And that is what happened with all those examples. The tunnels, the electronic gates, and the metallic barricades, the reaction was too strong that they were forced to roll back their decision and to step back. And yesterday, those barricades were removed after an agreement was reached. That's what my understanding, with figures from the Jerusalemite community with the Israeli authorities in Jerusalem. And indeed, they were removed. So thanks to this resistance by citizens of Jerusalem, and of course Palestinians as a whole, who gather in Jerusalem to support the struggle of Jerusalemites, those things aimed at annexing more and more of Jerusalem and were basically determined to fail. So it's extremely important that each and every attempt to be strongly resisted, and we will see results on the ground that indeed their schemes would fail if our action is strong and if we are united in our refusal of imposing those new realities.
Yes, shukran, Akhi Mu'adh, definitely, and we definitely agree on that. And we are so in awe of the Jerusalem street and the youth being in the forefront of this resistance, untamed and unnerved by the petty politics of the leadership and the criticism, but we are so in awe of the pictures we are seeing of the youth being right in front of this resistance. Sister Abeer, this occupation state of Israel is always portrayed as being so powerful, it cannot be dominated or overpowered, but yet just now in Jerusalem in the last few days, it is forced to back down. It is forced to back down in Jerusalem. What do we read in these little successive victories of the Palestinian people against the occupation?
Mainly you say that we succeed. We did not make any agreement. What putting in the media that some of the leader of Jerusalem had made agreement with some of agreement with Israel to take the parquet. No, there is none of the Palestinian had done any kind of agreement with the Israel for do that. No, they was forced to take it out, not like what they put in their own media. Okay, so what we
sorry, Sister Abeer, just to clarify, what I meant is that the Israeli police informed those respected leaders that they are going to remove the barricades, and that's what happened.
No, they did not inform anyone. They just put it in the media. What they put it in the media, do not take it. They always try to make us or to make the people out think that they make informed or they make agreement or something with the Palestinian in Jerusalem. And you need to understand something about this movement in Jerusalem. There is no leader for this movement. These movement lead themselves. The youth lead themselves alone without anyone give them any direction or anything. What they lead them is their love to Jerusalem. We have a word in Arabic, we call it jakar. They mainly do it for jakar. I don't know if you know the good translation, Mouad, for this word. It will be perfect.
It's really hard to translate, but basically
it's very hard to they make it just to prove that they do what they want to do and that they own the place. So this is
it's
the
not
only
stubbornness,
thing that
really.
they lead them.
It's their belief in that they own Jerusalem and that Jerusalem belongs to its people.
Abeer, you have 1 minute. Sister Abeer,
just to finish
Abeer,
that,
yeah.
I will just to say that what the Jerusalem people had succeeded alone, even without a leader, the youth, it just gives us a lesson as Muslims everywhere that if we go with our heart to protect Al-Aqsa Mosque, to protect Jerusalem, all of us can be protesting all over the world and we can change what is happening in Al-Aqsa, what is happening in Jerusalem. You need to understand that 28th of Ramadan, it will be a very hard day on Jerusalem in Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Jewish extreme Zionists are planning to enter to Al-Aqsa Mosque in the 28th to celebrate the occupation of Jerusalem. And this will be a very hard day. And if the Muslims all over the world do not stand and to say a word about Al-Aqsa Mosque, about protecting Al-Aqsa Mosque, and leave the Jerusalem people alone to protect, we as Jerusalem people, we are willing to give our life to protect Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. But also the Muslims all over the world need to understand that they need to be with us. We does not ask them to fight here. We just ask them to protest in their own country, to say that they are not accepting what is happening in Al-Aqsa.
Jazakumullah khair, definitely. And I can tell you that the Muslims all over the world is definitely with the Muslims of Palestine and Al-Quds. In fact, the United Ulama Council of South Africa a few days ago already sent a circular to the masajid all over South Africa to speak about it every night, or to speak about it at the nights of Taraweeh as to what is happening and to make dua. Today there was a special dua to be done at the same time today after Dhuhr. Akhi Mu'adh, the final question, because we are running out of time. Hopefully we will have some more interviews in this week, because this is very important for us to keep on the pulse. The final question: the youth is playing. Youth, even in South Africa, played a key role for the fall of apartheid, to the end of apartheid. And as we see, the youth is playing an important role in Palestine now. What motivation? What is the role of the youth of the Muslim world for what's happening now, and how can the message of Al-Aqsa energize the youth of the Muslim world?
I will begin by talking about the spirit. I want to reaffirm what Sister Abeer just said. Those are not organized movements. You know, the citizens of Jerusalem and the youth in particular would just flock to Al-Aqsa Mosque to defend it and to protect it. Some of them don't even pray. Like, unfortunately, that's an unfortunate thing, but they do, actually. They don't pray. But when they know that there's a scheme that aimed at, seizing or annexing parts of the old city or Al-Aqsa Mosque, they would flock with the hundreds and thousands to Al-Aqsa Mosque to protect it. And that's what stops and aborts those schemes by the Zionists. That spirit needs to be revived in the youth, in the whole Muslim world and the Arab world. We need to remind them, how sacred Jerusalem is, what their value, what its value is, how important its role has been in the victories of the Ummah, whether it is the Arab Ummah or the Muslim Ummah. I think the media has a great role to play in reviving that spirit, because that spirit is what motivates the youth of Palestine and the youth of Jerusalem in particular to continue to resist. That spirit is what put an end to the apartheid regime in South Africa. So because we are talking via the media and through the media does need to put more effort to address the youth and to remind them about Palestine being a just cause that is worth fighting for, that we need to all stand behind Palestinians in their struggle and to support them. I would like also to note that the rights struggle, that the legal struggle is also extremely important. Today, the Human Rights Watch released an extremely important a report about the violations of human rights by Israeli government, by the army and the police. That does create pressure, and Israel is now extremely concerned about its leaders being prosecuted in international courts. So if we utilize those things, those tools, the spirit, the legal aspect, and the media, I am sure things will begin to change. So we need really to work on these, and inshallah soon we will see a new reality.
Amin. Jazakumullah khair, Akhi Mu'adh. We are also joined by Maulana Abdul Khalik Ali, the President of the United Ulama Council of South Africa, and we are going to hand him the last 2 minutes to give his thoughts as to what he has been listening, and also a message to the South African Muslim community as to the way forward. فليتفضل Maulana Abdul Khalik Ali, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, to our very distinguished guests, our honorable sister Abeer, and our dear, respected and beloved brother Mouad, ahlan wa sahlan. We would like to welcome you into the homes of all South Africans. And we would like to say to you, you are part of us and we are part of you. Nothing will separate us in our struggle and in our deliberations for the freedom of the Palestinian people, for the freedom of the city of Al-Quds, and the protection and preservation of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak. We want to salute the youth and the spirit that you are referring to. We would like to say to you, keep that spirit vibrant and alive. We are standing with you. And I would like to appeal to also the Africans and the broader Muslim community in this Mubarak month of Ramadan. Increase in dua, but be watchful. As Sheikh Raid Salah would say, never turn an eye from Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Mubarak. It is my responsibility, it is your responsibility, it is our responsibility. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve and protect Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Mubarak. The United Ulama Council of South Africa, the Muslim Judicial Council, and all of our institutions. We have undertaken the responsibility, and we stand committed and firmly against an apartheid state, and so our support and full support with our dear and respected Palestinian and steadfastness until liberation.
Jazakumullah khair, Abdul Khalik Ali. Your line was not the best tonight. Jazakumullah khair. We appreciate and take great lead and respect from the leadership of the Muslim community. And we say Jazakumullah khair to Ustad Mouad Khateb and to Ustad Abeer Zayyad. And we hope in this exact week we are still going to have you again on the same stations and some other stations. This is very important, as you said, not only to the people of Al-Quds and to Palestine, but the Muslim Ummah at large. We want to keep the Muslim Ummah informed. And the Muslim Ummah wants to be informed as to what's happening on the streets of Al-Quds, in the old city of Jerusalem. And they want to see and know what's happening in Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. The Muslim Ummah is yearning and making dua day and night to pray in a free and liberated Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. We ask Allah Ta'ala that our next Ramadan be in a free and liberated Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. Our next Eid, we celebrate our next Eid, inshallah, in a free and liberated Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. We ask Allah Ta'ala to free and hasten the release of all the political prisoners, to ease and comfort the hearts of our mothers and our sisters and our grandmothers that have many sons in the jails. And so we say shukran for your time. We say Jazakumullah khair for Salam Media and for Voice of the Cape Radio, and we will definitely please watch the space. We will be back with you soon. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam. Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakumullah khair.